Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today's podcast is all about why you understand English but can't speak it and how to fix it. Have you ever spent hours watching English movies, listening to podcasts, or reading books? And yet, when someone asks you a simple question in English, you freeze? You know the words in your mind, but they just don't come out. Sounds familiar, right? Don't worry, you're not alone. Millions of English learners around the world face the same problem. The good news is, understanding English is already half the battle won. Today, I'm going to share 7 powerful tips that will help you actually speak English fluently, even if you feel shy or afraid of making mistakes. These tips are simple, practical, and you can start using them today. By the end of this podcast, speaking English will feel easier, natural, and even fun. Tip 1. Shadowing. Speak like a native. The first and most powerful tip to improve your English speaking is shadowing. Shadowing is a technique where you listen carefully to a native speaker and immediately repeat exactly what they say. The key is to match their speed, tone, rhythm, and pronunciation as closely as possible. This is not just about repeating words. It's about imitating the natural flow of English. For example, if you hear a sentence like, "I love learning English every day," you don't just say it slowly or in your own rhythm. You repeat it aloud, trying to capture the exact emotion, intonation, and emphasis of the speaker. At first, it may feel strange or even uncomfortable because your mouth and brain are not yet used to producing English in the same way. You might stumble over words or feel like you're moving too fast, but that's completely normal. With practice, your brain begins to recognize the patterns of natural speech, and your mouth learns how to form words automatically. Shadowing is extremely effective because it trains both your listening and speaking skills at the same time. While listening alone helps you understand English, repeating what you hear forces your brain to actively produce language, bridging the gap between understanding and speaking. Over time, this method builds something called muscle memory in your speech organs, the lips, tongue, and vocal cords, which allows your mouth to naturally form English words and sentences without overthinking. Think of it like learning to play a musical instrument. At first, your fingers stumble on the keys, but with repeated practice, the movements become smooth and automatic. Another benefit of shadowing is that it helps you improve your pronunciation, accent, and intonation simultaneously. Many learners can understand English perfectly but speak in a way that sounds unnatural or robotic. By copying native speakers exactly, your English starts to sound more natural, fluid, and confident. You also learn how to stress words correctly and use pauses, which are important for making your speech sound authentic. To get started, choose short, simple sentences from a podcast, video, or audiobook. Listen carefully, repeat aloud, and gradually increase the length and complexity of the sentences. Even practicing for 10 to 15 minutes a day can make a huge difference. Remember, the goal is not perfection at first. It's consistency, repetition, and gradually matching the natural rhythm of English. Shadowing may feel challenging at the beginning, but with time, it becomes one of the fastest and most effective ways to speak English like a native. Tip 2. Slow English practice. Speak clearly before speaking fast. The second tip to improve your English speaking is slow English practice. Many learners make the common mistake of trying to speak too fast before they are ready. They feel pressured to sound fluent, so they rush their words, which often leads to mistakes, confusion, or even freezing mid-sentence. Slow English practice is about deliberately slowing down your speech, focusing on each word, and making sure your sentences are clear and understandable. By speaking slowly, you give your brain time to process the words, grammar, and pronunciation simultaneously. For example, instead of saying a long sentence quickly, you can break it down. I am learning English. Today is a sunny day. I like coffee. Each sentence is short, manageable, and easy to pronounce correctly. Over time, your brain starts to link the words together naturally, building the foundation for faster and smoother speech. Speaking slowly has several important benefits. First, it reduces mental pressure. When you try to speak too quickly, your brain often feels overwhelmed because it has to think about grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation all at once. Slow practice allows your brain to focus on one thing at a time, giving you confidence as you form each word and sentence. Second, slow English practice improves clarity. Listeners can understand you better, which in turn boosts your confidence. Fluency isn't just about speed. It's about being able to communicate effectively and clearly. By mastering slow speech, you train your brain and mouth to work together, which is essential for developing real fluency. Another key advantage of slow practice is that it helps with pronunciation and intonation. English has its own rhythm, stress patterns, and musical flow. When you speak slowly, you have the time to pronounce each word correctly. Place stress on the right syllables and use natural pauses. These habits, developed at a slow pace, eventually carry over when you start speaking faster. Slow English practice is not about sounding slow or awkward. It's about building a strong foundation. Think of it like learning to walk before you run. Once your foundation is solid, speed and confidence will come naturally without mistakes or hesitation. To practice slow English, choose simple sentences from your daily routine, favorite podcasts, or English lessons. Repeat them aloud, exaggerate pronunciation if needed, and gradually increase sentence length as you improve. Even 10 to 15 minutes of daily slow practice can dramatically improve your speaking skills over time. The key is patience, consistency, and focus. Remember, fluency is a journey, and speaking slowly at first is one of the smartest and most effective ways to ensure long-term success. Tip 3. Build active vocabulary. Words you actually use. The third tip to improve your English speaking is to build active vocabulary. Many learners know thousands of English words, but there is a big difference between knowing a word and actually using it when speaking. Passive vocabulary is the set of words you can recognize when reading or listening, while active vocabulary is the set of words you can confidently use in conversation. If your active vocabulary is limited, you may understand English perfectly, but still struggle to form sentences or express your ideas. The key to bridging this gap is to practice using words in context, not just memorize them from a list. For example, instead of only memorizing the word happy, create sentences. I am happy because I completed my homework. Or she feels happy when she listens to music. By doing this, you are training your brain to think in English, which makes speaking much easier and more natural. Learning vocabulary in context also helps you remember words longer. When you memorize a word in isolation, it may disappear from your memory when you need it the most. But when you use it in real sentences, Your brain creates connections between words, grammar, and meaning, making them easier to recall while speaking. Additionally, practicing vocabulary in sentences allows you to learn how words interact with others, how they change with tense, prepositions, or common expressions. For instance, the word happy can appear in many phrases: happy with my results, happy about the news, or make someone happy. Practicing these phrases aloud helps you internalize the vocabulary and increases the range of expressions you can confidently use. Another important part of building active vocabulary is repetition. Repeating words and sentences aloud strengthens the link between your brain and mouth. Even just 10 to 15 minutes a day of focused vocabulary practice can make a big difference. You can use flashcards, vocabulary notebooks, or language apps. But the key is to always speak the words, not just read or write them silently. Speaking them aloud helps your brain retrieve them automatically during real conversations. Finally, remember that building active vocabulary is a gradual process. Start with words and phrases that are most useful in your daily life. Describe your routine, your feelings, or things around you. Use every opportunity to speak the words you learn. Over time, your active vocabulary will grow naturally, and you'll notice a huge difference in your ability to express yourself fluently and confidently. Vocabulary is not just about knowing words. It's about using them with ease. And that's the bridge from understanding English to speaking it confidently. Tip 4. Speak alone. Don't wait for someone else. The fourth tip to improve your English speaking is one of the most overlooked but powerful methods: speaking alone. Many learners feel stuck because they think, I can't practice English until I have a friend, teacher, or conversation partner. The truth is, you don't need anyone else to start improving your speaking skills. In fact, speaking alone is one of the fastest ways to build confidence, fluency, and sentence formation. You can start by describing your day, your surroundings, or your thoughts in English. For example, say out loud, I am making breakfast. I am reading a book. Today is sunny, and I feel happy. At first, it may feel strange or even a little silly, but this kind of self-talk trains your brain to think and speak in English naturally, without hesitation or fear of mistakes. Speaking to yourself allows you to experiment with language freely. You can try new words, practice different sentence structures, or test out phrases you recently learned, all without the pressure of someone judging your mistakes. This creates a safe learning environment where your brain and mouth work together, gradually strengthening the connection between your vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation. When you later speak to someone else, the sentences and words you've practiced alone will come out automatically. It's almost like rehearsing before a performance. Your speaking becomes smooth, confident, and natural. Another benefit of speaking alone is that it helps you notice gaps in your language knowledge. While describing your day or narrating your thoughts, you might realize there are words or phrases you don't know yet. This gives you a chance to learn, repeat, and reinforce them in context. For example, if you want to say, I am cooking breakfast, but you only remember I make food. Practicing alone lets you pause, find the right expression, and repeat it until it feels natural. Over time, these small adjustments build strong fluency habits. To make this practice effective, aim for 10 to 20 minutes every day. Speak out loud, describe your routine, and even think in English while talking. You can also narrate stories from your day or what you plan to do tomorrow. The more you speak alone, the more confident you become in your ability to form sentences and communicate your thoughts. Remember, fluency is not just about having conversations with others. It's about training your brain and mouth to work together seamlessly. Speaking alone may seem simple, but it is one of the most powerful habits to transform your English from passive understanding to active, confident speech. Tip 5. Active listening. Learn to mimic. The fifth tip to improve your English speaking is active listening, and it's more than just hearing English. It's about truly engaging with it. Many learners make the mistake of passively watching movies, TV shows, or listening to podcasts, thinking that exposure alone will make them fluent. While passive listening helps with understanding, it doesn't train your brain or mouth to speak. Active listening, on the other hand, requires you to pause, repeat, and mimic exactly what native speakers say. This means paying attention to their tone, intonation, speed, and rhythm. English is not just a collection of words. It has a natural melody, stress patterns, and pauses that give it life. By consciously copying these elements, your brain and mouth start to internalize the patterns of fluent speech. For example, if a native speaker says, "I can't wait to go to the park today," don't just repeat it word by word. Listen carefully to how they emphasize certain words, how their voice rises and falls, and how they link words together. Then, pause and mimic it aloud, trying to sound as close to the speaker as possible. At first, it may feel awkward or even difficult, but this process trains your ears and mouth to work together, making your own English sound more natural and confident over time. You are essentially learning to speak the language as it is really spoken, not just as it is written in books. Active listening also strengthens your pronunciation, rhythm, and fluency simultaneously. Many learners can understand English perfectly but speak in a monotone or unnatural way. Mimicking native speakers allows you to naturally adopt proper stress, intonation, and pacing. Over time, this makes your speech smoother, easier to understand, and more enjoyable to listen to. Another benefit is that it helps you expand your vocabulary and sentence patterns. When you mimic phrases repeatedly, they become part of your active memory, ready to be used in real conversations. To practice active listening effectively, choose short clips or dialogues from podcasts, YouTube videos, or TV shows. Listen once to understand, then pause and repeat each sentence aloud, copying the tone, speed, and emphasis. Repeat multiple times until it feels comfortable. Doing this for 10 to 15 minutes daily can dramatically improve both your listening and speaking skills. Remember, active listening is not just about understanding English. It's about internalizing it and training yourself to speak it naturally, like a native speaker. Tip 6. Overcome fear. Mistakes are part of learning. The sixth tip to improve your English speaking is perhaps the most important of all. Overcoming fear. Many learners struggle not because they lack knowledge or vocabulary, but because they are afraid of making mistakes. This fear can create a mental block that stops you from speaking altogether. You might hesitate, freeze mid-sentence, or avoid conversations entirely. But the truth is, mistakes are not a sign of failure. They are a natural and essential part of learning. Every fluent speaker you admire has made thousands of mistakes before they could speak confidently. They stumbled over words, mispronounced phrases, and said things incorrectly, just like you. What made them successful wasn't perfection, it was persistence, courage, and the willingness to keep speaking despite errors. Changing your mindset is key. Instead of telling yourself, "I can't speak English," replace it with positive affirmations like, "I am improving every day," or "Mistakes help me learn." This simple shift in thinking transforms your confidence and allows your brain to focus on communication rather than perfection. Confidence is a self-fulfilling habit. The more you believe in your ability to speak, the more naturally the words flow. Fear, on the other hand, creates tension in your mouth and mind, making it difficult to form sentences or recall vocabulary. By embracing mistakes and treating them as learning opportunities, you remove the mental block and create space for real fluency. One effective strategy is to practice speaking in low-pressure situations. Talk to yourself, record your voice, or practice with a language app where mistakes don't matter. Over time, these small successes build confidence, and you will notice that speaking in front of others becomes much easier. Another tip is to set small, achievable goals, like using a new word in a sentence each day, or speaking for 5 minutes without worrying about errors. These small victories reinforce the mindset that mistakes are stepping stones, not obstacles. Remember, English is not just a subject to be studied, it's a skill to be used. Fluency is built through practice, courage, and persistence, not flawless grammar. Every mistake you make is a lesson learned. Every hesitation is an opportunity to improve. And every attempt to speak brings you one step closer to confidence. The moment you accept mistakes as part of the journey, speaking English becomes not only easier but also enjoyable. Fear may be natural, but it doesn't have to control your English. Embrace your mistakes, speak bravely, and watch your fluency grow every day. Tip 7. Daily routine practice. Consistency is key. The seventh and final tip to improve your English speaking is daily routine practice. Many learners make the mistake of practicing inconsistently, studying hard for a day or two, then taking a long break. The truth is, consistency is far more powerful than occasional bursts of effort. Even just 10 to 15 minutes of focused speaking every day is far more effective than hours of passive listening without practice. Daily practice trains your brain and mouth to work together, gradually turning effort into natural fluency. It is like exercising a muscle. If you work out consistently, your strength grows steadily. If you only exercise occasionally, progress is slow and unreliable. The same principle applies to speaking English. To make daily practice effective, you can combine different activities that strengthen both your confidence and fluency. Start with shadowing, repeating sentences from a podcast or video to mimic natural pronunciation and intonation. Then practice slow English, speaking deliberately and focusing on clarity so that your sentences are easy to form and pronounce. Next, narrate your day aloud, describing what you are doing, seeing, or thinking. Simple sentences like, "I am drinking tea," "I am reading a book," "The weather is sunny today," help reinforce vocabulary and sentence structures in context. Finally, make it a habit to use new words and phrases you learn each day in your speech. By repeating and practicing them daily, these words become part of your active vocabulary, ready to be used automatically in conversation. Consistency also builds confidence. The more frequently you practice, the less intimidating it becomes to speak in real-life situations. Even if you speak alone, your brain becomes accustomed to forming sentences in English, and your mouth learns the physical patterns of words and pronunciation. Over time, you will notice that speaking English feels more natural and effortless, and your hesitation and fear gradually fade away. Daily practice creates a rhythm, a habit that slowly transforms English from something you just understand into something you can actively and confidently use every day. Remember, fluency is not about perfection. It's about persistence. Small daily efforts compound over time, producing remarkable results. By dedicating just a few minutes each day to focused speaking, shadowing, slow practice, self-talk, and using new vocabulary, you create a strong foundation for long-term success. The key is to stay consistent, patient, and committed. Over time, your English speaking will flow naturally, your confidence will soar, and you will finally bridge the gap between understanding English and speaking it fluently. Daily practice is the habit that turns learning into speaking and speaking into fluency. So, to recap, the 7 tips we covered today: shadowing slow English practice, building active vocabulary, speaking alone, active listening, overcoming fear, and daily routine practice are powerful tools that can completely transform the way you speak English. Each tip targets a different part of your learning process, from improving pronunciation and rhythm to boosting confidence and fluency. Remember, fluency doesn't happen overnight, and it's normal to make mistakes along the way. What truly matters is taking consistent action and celebrating every small step forward. Even spending just 10 to 15 minutes every day practicing these techniques can have a remarkable impact over time. Start today. Speak as much as you can, and don't be afraid to talk to yourself if you don't have a conversation partner. Every sentence you form, every word you pronounce, and every phrase you repeat brings you closer to confidence. Your English voice matters, your words matter, and the ability to express yourself fluently is waiting for you. So, hi everyone. Take a deep breath, speak slowly, shadow your favorite sentences, and enjoy the process of learning. You are capable of speaking English confidently, and it all begins with these 7 tips and your dedication to practice every single day.